Hello, everyone, and welcome to another elite episode of the Get Authentic with Marcus show. My name is Marques Ogden. On today's episode, we are joined by a very good friend of mine, very great guy. Love him, his family, what he's done for our career. He doesn't know it. Well, I always tell him anyway, but he's amazing on every level. This is my great friend, Mr. Jamie Hopkins. How you doing there, Jamie?
Hey, thanks for having me on, my friend. Yeah, it's great to see you too. And the feeling's mutual, right?
Yeah.
Love you, man. And yeah, appreciate you being part of my life.
Same here, brother. Same here. Jamie, first question, my good friend. What does the word authentic slash authenticity mean to Jamie Hopkins?
It's a great one. It's actually very similar to what I talk about with trust. I
Mhm.
think authentic and trust are kind of synonymous in my mind. And it really starts with doing what you say you're going to do. I think that's the biggest thing when somebody's authentic, right? They're being who they say they're going to be, they're delivering the promises they make to their teams. And I think that's what builds trust. Like you trust people when they do the things that they say they're going to do, and that's being authentic. I use this example a lot, right? It's not hard to mow the lawn, but if you hired somebody to mow your lawn and they say they're going to be there every Thursday, and the first week they show up Thursday, the next week Monday, and then they skip a week and show up 2 weeks later on a Sunday morning, like it's not that they can't do the job, but you start to not trust them because they don't do what they say they're going to do. And then you don't feel they're authentic, right? Like their message to you wasn't real.
You know what, Jamie? I wrote something down about showing up and being consistent. And I think about the time where I first met you, you had me come out to Carson and you had me meet with your team, not get paid, get to know you. And like, I was like, I'm in. And you were like, really? I was like, yeah. You were like, wow, I don't have to pay you. You're in. Like, yeah. Like, how you gonna get to know me if I don't come out there and show you I
Yeah.
want to actually get to know you? And so many people, right, Jamie, like they want the quick dollar, they want the quick buck. I'm like, that's not how it works in business. You build trust by showing up and showing out. So, Jamie, before we get into your book, which I don't want to talk about, tell us something more about yourself and the work you do now with Bryn Mawr Trust.
Yeah, so Bryn Mawr Trust is a great organization. I got the pleasure and privilege to come in here and lead this part of the organization about 3 years ago now. Crazy as that is, how time flies. But it's a 126-year-old trust organization here in the Northeast, around the Philadelphia area. And we combined and got merged in around that time with WSFS, WISFIS, which is always a little hard for people to pronounce. But what's crazy, WISFIS is about almost 198-year-old organization. So these are two storied organizations in the Northeast, and we really service this area from a trust perspective, from a banking, lending perspective, from a wealth management perspective. We have an amazing team that I get to work with, about 380 individuals, probably breaking 400 in the first half of next year. And we work with financial advisory firms all over the country to give them trust services to their clients. We work with people locally too that say, "Hey, like I want to leave a legacy trust for my grandchildren, and use the state of Delaware, which is a great trust venue to leave a legacy trust." And so we'll set that up, operate as corporate trustee. So our whole business is about trust because I talk about it with my teams all the time. We're setting up trusts today, Marcus, like this week, that will be around after you and I are gone from the face of this planet, right? Like my team, we're setting up things that are going to benefit people who won't be born perhaps till I'm gone. So what we deliver isn't just about tomorrow or a month from today. Like we have to operate and set things up so they'll be in existence and structured correctly for 80 years from today, which is a very important, powerful thing. I sometimes talk about us as like a bridge. I did this yesterday actually and said, like, really, we're like bridges. We connect today's generation with future generations. And like our stability is super important, that we have to be able to provide things for generations that have never crossed this bridge yet, but will be getting gifts from their grandparents today. And so we need to be sturdy and strong and long lasting, which is a great connector point.
You know, Jamie, I don't think I've ever told you this, but when I went to the I went to the NAPSA program, National Athletic Professional Success Academy. It talked about an elevator pitch, and there's four parts. There is the intro, which is basically who you are, where you're from. Then there's the bridge the old you to the new you. Step three is connect you to that prospective client through trust and honesty. And four, make the ask. So it's so crazy how you talked about bridge and connect, and that's number step two and step three of an effective elevator pitch. That's just amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it's all about. It's about bridging, connecting, and like Jamie said, the work they do, people that aren't may not even be born yet until like we're gone are going to benefit from the work that Jamie and his team do. So doing it correctly, finishing it, going all the way through, not half-assing it, it's so important. And I love this. So Jamie, let's now talk about your upcoming new book project. Please tell our global audience about the book, title, theme, and what was it that made you want to write yet another awesome book?
Yeah, so I'm so excited for this, and I appreciate you giving me some airtime to talk about it. And it's called Your Retirement Sketchbook, and it's available right now. You can buy it on like Amazon and Target and Walmart and Barnes and Noble, anywhere that you want to buy something online. So it's pretty much, you go there, you type it in, it'll pop right up if you put it in Google or any search, or Chat GPT. Now, if you say, "Hey, where can I get your retirement sketchbook?" It'll probably also tell you in there. But this was really a passion project for me. As you know about me, I've been in the retirement space for almost 20 years now, and I've got a lot of knowledge there. I've written other retirement books. I've built education programs for the financial advisory community, actually the largest retirement education program in the United States. I was one of the co-founders of RICP, and we taught advisors how to plan with clients on retirement income planning. This to me is really what I would say is my culmination point of 20 years of retirement work, putting it into a book. And I really felt super proud of it. So it's 125 different retirement planning topics. And I built this one to be more fun. And I know that always sounds funny when people are like, "Well, why this book?" Well, my old book, I loved it. It did really well on retirement planning, but it was more academic. It's like most financial books it's very numbers based. It was analytical driven, and it resonated with people. But what I keep feeling lately is most of the financial education and materials out there are spreadsheets, numbers, analysis. You and I have talked about that before. And this book we did as sketch art, so it's called Your Retirement Sketchbook because every other page in the book is art that we drew out the concept. So when we talk about revocable and irrevocable trust, we draw out the concept. We show how things flow. Most people are visual learners, Marcus, and
Mhm.
almost no financial education books and resources are visual based. You just read them. And I'm like, well, this is the big miss. And I had a person tell me once, anything that you can explain verbally, you can demonstrate in a picture too. And that's always stuck with me. Sometimes some things are harder than others, but um, but we did it, and so we've got 125 sketches. We've got places in there for people to draw out their own elements of their retirement plan and what it means to them visually. And I did this it's probably a decade ago, where somebody asked to write down your three core values and then draw what your coat of arms would look like to represent those. And that
Mm.
same concept of like drawing your values, drawing your retirement, drawing your income as pictures is something you just relate to it more. And like I've never forgotten what I drew on there, right? It was an anvil for grit, right? A
Mhm.
pineapple for community.
Mm.
And the other one, the drawing was terrible, but it's actually it's like white hawk falcon like thing, which was actually what my son's name means in Gaelic is white
Mm.
hawk. And
Mm.
like the family aspect was super important to me. So I drew an element of our family, the
Mhm.
anvil for grit and the pineapple for community. And that's what was on mine. Um, but to be honest, if I didn't draw that, I probably wouldn't remember what I wrote down that day, right? Like you mentioned authentic, I'd be like, "Oh, I like that one. Maybe that's my value." But when I drew it, and I had to put a picture to it. It's like, it's just galvanized that in me for decades now.
You know, Jamie, I love this for our audience because so many people talk about wanting to retire. I was literally talking to one of my clients, Bo Bravo. Bo used to work in the White House as the HR and communications director for George Walker Bush and Barack Obama. He was head of all communications, HR, planning. Talk about a super stressful job. And now he's working in the private sector, doing great. We were chatting about this just this morning. He said, Marques, I'm 56 years old and I don't want to be working forever. I want to retire when I'm like him. He said, I would love to retire at 61 in the next 5 years. I said, man, I love that for you. We've worked on a plan and the goals, right? So, Jamie, I love this because, again, your book is really helping to solve a problem that so many people are concerned about. Do I have enough money to retire? And what does that look like? So, do me a favor, please elaborate on a few of the concepts of the book. First of all, I love the fact you've got visuals, drawings. That's huge because people are visual learners. When I do keynotes, I've got some photos, I've got some images because people love to look and put themselves into your drawing, into your story. It's everything. But give us a few of the important concepts of the book to kind of share with our global audience what they can expect to gain or see from your awesome book.
Yeah, and I think one of the fun things about this book too is, as you mentioned, your global audience, it's more of a global planning book than some of my previous works have been, where we really focused on specific tax impacts right here in the United States. Although, right, I live in the US, that is my knowledge base more so than anything else. We really look at this as a planning book. So, what we did is we broke it up into 7 sections of like understanding your money, just like what's your relationship with it, right? And that's the starting point. So, getting to understand what are the values you see in it, what are the values your spouse see, what are those early money memories. So that's kind of like that explorative phase. Like, where's this relationship? We then go into the saving for retirement. So if you're early on, maybe you're in your 40s or 30s and you're still saving, we have a whole portion of the book that's dedicated to this, like how to save, how to get the most out of it, how to automate it, right? How to not make saving feel like this burden that you have to carry, but to like actually draw out stuff. We talk a lot about your future self and like getting connected with that person. So
Mm.
you know who you're saving for and why. And even some of the tactics that really help people there. I've talked about this one for years. I've had 2 of my wealth teams do this over the last 20 years, but we have people name their accounts as things they care about or they think they will care about in the future. So a really specific example is a 529 account for your kids to go to college. We don't let people leave it as like generic 529 account.
Mhm.
We actually have people say like, well, like you went to Howard, right? And
Mhm.
although your daughter did not go there, but she, you could have said it as like, my daughter's Howard College Fund. And what's
Mm.
crazy about this is you care a lot more then. When it's just a 529 account, you still care, but it's not personalized. And all of a sudden, you put your daughter's name there and you put your university that you went, and you're like, well, I really liked my university. Like, it did well for me. I got drafted from there. I would like to support this. And it's crazy how small things like that change. If somebody has a fund where they're saving for their retirement home, we don't let them just put like savings fund. We tell them, like, you have to go name that. That's your right Sarasota, Florida retirement home. And people are like, I love it there. Like, I can't wait. It changes how you feel about your money and your plan versus just doing the plan. And that's kind of how we look at the whole book. What are the techniques and things you can change to become right connected to your plan? So the drawing's part of it, but sometimes it's naming things, as you mentioned, using photos. We recommend people do that with a vision board of retirement. Actually, put up photos of how retirement is going to look like. That's one of the elements of the book. When I did the audio book, the woman who was doing the recording was like, I love that. I'm going to talk to my husband about it. Same thing, right? 5 years from retirement. And she's like, and I guess she's done vision boards for other things in her life. And she's like, nobody's ever brought that up to me. Like, I'm totally going to do this with my spouse when I am done here. And that just came out as like her listening when I was recording the audio book. And she was like, that is so awesome.
Well,
So
Jamie, it's so great, man, because ladies and gentlemen, anytime you could put a why behind something, an emotion behind something, something that makes you feel more connected and are related to the project or the product or the item, it's always better. I tell people all the time, if you have a goal, we always discuss three things. What is the why? What is the what? And what is the how? Why is the emotion? What is the logic? And then how is the tactical? So this is fantastic because people have to understand that if you want to achieve something, you have to have some sort of personal connection to it. It makes it that much easier and that much more likely to achieve. So, James, I have a question for you. This is, I guess, book related, but also just around retirement related as well. What do you think is the most classic mistake people make when it comes to trying to set themselves up for retirement? Because again, you have a ton of expertise in this area, lots of wisdom, over 20 years in the industry. So you've seen a lot, you've been around a lot, you know the right way and the wrong. It's like I know when it comes to speaking, right, or building a business, the right way or the wrong way. So what are some classic mistakes that you see people make when it comes to trying to set themselves up for retirement that your book basically discusses how to actually do it the right way and not the wrong way?
yeah, I'll give you three because, like life, right? Like it's different for different people. But I'd say these are three classic ones we run into all the time. So the first one is going to go to that, like, why. And we talk about retiring to something instead of retiring from something. I run into so many people that just don't like their jobs and are like, I can't wait to retire. That is not the reason to retire. You have to retire to something. What is the meaning? What is the thing you're going to do? How are you going to spend your time? Because what's crazy about retirement is actually retirees are the happiest group of people in the country. That's the good news. The bad news is there are more people who say that they are depressed in retirement than any other cohort of the population. So you actually
Mhm.
get a little bit of that barbell, right? Like the average person tends to go up in their happiness, but we've got a lot of people that lose meaning, lose connection, lose community. So we spend a lot of time like retirement is just a part of our life. It's about enjoying things. It's about having fun and giving yourself permission to enjoy life. But you do have to be purposeful because some of those automatic communities, that automatic connection and purpose that exists while you're working and raising kids and in a community, right? They start to disappear in retirement and you have to be purposeful on it. So we have a whole thing on that, but that's a huge issue. You see that across the board. And when people actually retire, their lifespan decreases because they lose a sense of meaning. And so finding that meaning before you retire is super important. We talk about tactics to do that. The next one is the fact that so few people have ever done a savings to income needs calculation in retirement. That's the math part in the middle, right? Of like the how to do it. Are you saving enough to meet the income needs you want in retirement? And what I see all people focus on like a magic number. Well, if I get $1 million, I'll be fine. Well, I have no idea if you're going to be fine. That's a lot of money for most people. But if you want to spend $100,000 a year, it's not enough, right? Like you will
Mm-mm.
not make it. It is not
Mm-mm.
about the magic savings number, but it's about what that pool of assets you have can create in retirement income. And that is a very different calculation and formulation. And that does have to understand what you want to do. Now, the third one is, and this is an interesting one because it is retirement related, but it's also like the end of life. And we actually go to this part in the book, which most retirement books skip over, but like what happens when you die? We have like we end the book with that. And we also talk about like values and charitable giving and your legacy. But so few people have updated estate documents, trust wills. We talked about my business earlier on, but it's only about 9% of the United States population actually says they have an updated estate plan in place. That means 90 plus percent of Americans do not have an updated estate plan and trust and will and those documents in place. And that is such a big missed area. You know, my own personal life, you've heard my story. My dad passed away when I was 8 years old on a construction job accident. I lived through the fact of watching parents not be prepared for this because when you're 30 something years old and you're a construction worker, you basically think you're invincible, you're going to live forever, right? And that's normal. But the planning there is super important because then I watch my mom, right, grow up without, right, her spouse, the person earning the living. And then the kids go through that financial hurdle. that's a life insurance policy and a basic will would have made a world of difference, right,
Mm,
for our family. But it's hard to get that advice to construction workers that didn't graduate from college, right? That's not the area being serviced by that, which is why I think books and education materials, podcasts, right, videos, articles are so important to continue to spread this message and also tell people like there are solutions out there. This is not something reserved for the ultra wealthy anymore. There's tools out there where you can get a basic will in place for $100 now, right? Like this has become mass market, and it's not just for the ultra wealthy, but so many people tell me like, "Oh, well, that's really for like billionaires." And you're like, "No, it's for you and your family. Like you don't want to
mhm,
leave everybody in a worse spot when you're gone." We've all had this experience, whether it's an aunt, an uncle, grandparent, parents, losing a child, wherever it is. We want to make that as seamless as possible. So when I look at those three things, across the board, those are huge. I mean, the numbers play it out, right? 90+% of people don't have updated estate plans in place. That's just it's a fact. It's a big miss, right?
mhm,
It's not an
mhm,
argument. It's just, and when I
mhm.
bring this up to most people go, "Oh yeah, like we haven't really updated it or looked at it in forever."
And I
Yeah,
have to tell you what, I just got through doing mine last year.
yeah.
Well, this year. So, ladies and gentlemen, love this. Jamie, amazing interview. How can people support you, get your book? How can our global audience get in touch with you and support you?
Yeah, well, thank you. And on X and Instagram, I'm at Retirement Risks. So that's a pretty easy one from a handle perspective. Our company's Bryn Mawr Trust, Bryn Mawr Trust, so it's bmt.com. So if you are looking for an updated estate plan or anything out there, or you need a trustee, feel free to reach out on that side. And then the book, Your Retirement Sketchbook, available pretty much on all platforms. You can go on and order one today. It'll be shipped out here in a little bit. But hey, thank you, my friend, for having me on too. Those are I'm on LinkedIn too for people who always can add me there and ping me. And usually Marcus will tag me at least once every couple weeks. So you get to see both of us on there.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please go and support him. Please go and check out his stuff. Great guy, great information on retirement, planning, thinking ahead, just phenomenal information. And the authentic tip of this great interview in life, always be prepared for the unknown. You never know what's going to happen. You heard Jamie unfortunately lost his dad tragically at 8 years old unexpectedly, and Jamie's mom and his family had to go through hardship that could have been potentially avoided with the right planning. Planning is everything, right? What's the old saying? You have to be prepared for what is going to happen and move and throughout challenges and get yourself in the best position to achieve greatness. So again, please be very cognizant of planning and planning ahead. Again, my name is Marques Ogden. I am the host of the Get Authentic with Marques show. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fantastic day.